Tempest Rising is an upcoming RTS that seems to be heavily inspired by the CNC series. One of you guys had suggested that I check out its demo currently available on Steam, so here I am, getting a feel for the game while trying to beat the two intro missions Deathless. First up on the chopping block is the GDF mission, which tasks us with investigating and thwarting a possible Tempest harvesting operation by the Dynasty forces in Iceland. We start the mission with 4 field scouts. Although they are lightly armored infantry units, they have higher range and damage output than their Dynasty counterparts, allowing us to clear the first few Dynasty guards on the road without much thought. After reaching the second group of enemy infantry, 3 friendly drone operators will be paradropped into the area. These guys have the ability to remote operate their drones in a small area, which sounds useful against enemy groups that do not possess anti-air capabilities. But that's just the problem, isn't it? Nearly every enemy group in this mission has some form of anti-air, as well as these super long-range SAM sites that can one-shot their drones. What this means is that we will end up barely using these operators in this mission. Luckily, the Havoc stationed at the first roadblock won't fire at us if we come from the cliffside. Take out the barrels beside the Havoc to destroy it, then the flame turret as well. From here on out, we will leave the drone operators at the back as we push forward with our field scouts again. Take out the SAM sites and the negligible amount of Dynasty guards scattered about, which triggers another reinforcement drop, this time being 2 sentinels and a riot medic. The presence of a medic means that we now have a reliable form of sustain for our scouts, so we can use them to soak up the damage from here on out. As we push forward to the next point of interest, we will encounter a group of grenadiers engaging some Dynasty forces. Rush to their aid as quickly as possible, and we should be able to save 7 grenadiers, a substantial increase to our firepower. The rest of the way to the next objective marker is relatively simple. Use our infantry to draw aggro and heal them with the medic. There isn't anything on the way whose DPS can overpower the healing of the riot medic, so there won't even be a need to use the special ability of the medic. Once we reach the MCV, we can begin to use it to build up some defenses while we move to this cliff to take out the last SAM site. Doing so unlocks the air support power for us, which we can use to bombard enemy positions. The ability recharges after every use, so honestly, we could just end this mission right here by bombing everything that's left. To speed up the process a bit, we could push in with our ground army as well. The defense force is pretty weak, so we can pull them apart easily by aggroing only some of them at a time. Level the Dynasty construction yard to finish the mission. That GDF mission was pretty easy. Now the Dynasty one. We start the mission with 6 Dynasty guards, which, as we previously mentioned, are basically inferior versions of the GDF field scout in every way. On top of that, we won't get a medic in this mission, which means after every encounter, we have to withdraw the units that soaked up damage to minimize our chances of losing a unit. Eliminate the first field scout we see. When we reach the checkpoint, we will face 5 field scouts, 2 of which will garrison this nearby watchtower. The trick here is to first run in until we hit the trigger that makes 2 of the field scouts garrison the tower. Then, we pull back a bit and redraw the aggro of the 3 other field scouts so that they move closer towards the barrels, which allows us to take them all out with a single explosion. Draw aggro with a different Dynasty guard this time and take out the watchtower right after. Once we close in on the first bridge, a cutscene will trigger where a group of friendly igniters and havocs will fall to airstrikes. The annoying part here lies in the fact that this cutscene for some reason leaves a single friendly alive on the other side of the bridge, who then immediately dies to gunfire after the cutscene ends. There's basically no way to save him, so I'm gonna count this as a cutscene loss. The good news is, we gain a group of igniters after the cutscene, which are more heavily armored than the Dynasty guards. Use them as meat shields for this next encounter, where a group of field scouts will try to move into a watchtower. Beeline straight towards the watchtower, destroy the barrel first, and then the watchtower to prevent any deaths on our side. Move up a bit more and we will get another group of reinforcements, whose appearance for some reason warrants a cutscene that takes away the control of our units for a brief moment. I am honestly not a fan of how this is set up and hope that we get to keep control of our forces during in-game cutscenes in the actual campaign, as this leaves us prone to a lot of unintended mishaps, which you will see in just a bit. Once we move up the ramp, we immediately trigger a battle between some armed civilians and field scouts. To prevent the death of any civilian militiamen, we have to run straight towards the enemy units, which will draw their aggro away from the civilians to us. Pull back the first igniter that soaked up all the shots and eliminate the remaining enemies. Complete the side objective by moving into this circle, which grants us control of all the militiamen. Before we move on to the next ramp, we have to keep all of our wounded units back far away, as moving onto the ramp will trigger an in-game cutscene where not only do we lose control of our units, but the game also issues an A-move command towards the ramp to all our units, meaning that if we don't keep the low HP ones far back, they will run headfirst into the fight and die immediately. Once we trigger the cutscene, 4 Havocs carrying reinforcements inside will arrive and push straight into the enemy territory for an unavoidable fight, during which one of the technicians that get off the Havocs will plant a bunch of mines right where he stands, and immediately get blown up by said mines once the cutscene finishes. My first thought was trying to load him back into the Havoc as soon as the cutscene ended, but his death happens almost instantaneously. So this is basically yet another cutscene loss, as there is no way for me to save him. To save the remainder of our forces, we'll have to target these barrels to destroy this chain gun turret as soon as we have control. The igniters should have enough HP to survive the attacks from the grenadiers inside the watchtower until they get eliminated. It is at this point of the mission where we have to diverge a good bit from its design. The original script of the mission goes as follows: capture the Tempest rig, defend against a large-scale assault from both sides that is most certainly going to result in losses, collect $1,400 worth of Tempest, then exfil the Tempest rig to finish the mission. To avoid losing units to the assault, we will deviate from the original plan by shaving off some of the attackers in advance using our newly obtained Havocs and Technicians. The Technician unit has the ability to repair vehicles, which will keep our Havocs in top shape. This also means the rest of our infantry units are now obsolete, and we will send them to the back of our base so they can take a breather and have some tea. Collect these 2 cash crates at the bottom left of the map, and then this one over here as well, to accumulate enough funds to afford a second technician for repairs. Push east with our Havocs and take out all enemy forces in the area. Destroying these silos here will net us some more cash, which we can use to recruit even more technicians. Once we reach the GDF base at the bottom right side of the map, we will be tasked with destroying these helipads to deny the GDF air support. This side objective is actually supposed to trigger after we fought back the big attack and collected enough Tempest, but it seems simply moving our units here will activate it too. We can easily eliminate this entire base using our Havocs and Technicians. I also captured the GDF refinery, which allowed me to collect more funds for more technicians. Once we have taken out the helipads, a reinforcement team including 3 Havocs will be paradropped at the top left corner of the map. Use our Havocs and Technicians to take out the enemy patrols at the bridge and rendezvous our Havocs. With 7 Havocs in our hands, we could easily clear out the remaining enemy presence in the area before we moved on with our main objective. After sweeping the map, we take our Havocs back to the Tempest rig and capture it to initiate the next phase of the mission. A few enemy troops will be paradropped in, but they'll be easily repelled by the Havocs and the Technicians. By now you've probably realized an issue. Why hasn't the defense objective been completed if we have eliminated all enemy forces already? Well, remember when I said the original script involved collecting $1,400 worth of Tempest using the Tempest rig? For some reason, if our cash reserve goes above $1,400 before we capture the Tempest rig, that objective is seen as incompleted. And I have a lot of funds right now, owing to the GDF refinery I captured earlier. I tried to spend all that money by recruiting a whole bunch of technicians to drop my cash reserve below $1,400, and then mining it back up again using the Tempest rig, after which I unpacked the Tempest rig. Thankfully, this complete shot in the dark worked, and I triggered the next step of the mission, escorting the rig to the extraction zone. Since I cleared out the map beforehand, this part is a smooth sail, with not much hindrance, except a few enemy paradrops, and with that, the janky Dynasty mission is finished. Hello lads, we meet again. If you're wondering, I do think the game looks great. Though if I'm being honest, judging by the Dynasty mission, I'm not exactly excited to attempt the full campaign Deathless. The unit movement inertia is one thing, but taking away my control during in-game cutscenes, as well as the general jankiness of the mission scripting, aren't exactly thrilling aspects to look forward to in a full run. Then again, the demo isn't really representative of the final product, so I hope these issues are addressed in the final release. That's all from me today. Until next time.